Conshohocken Borough Council. Ms. Checa, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Chmielewski.
Present.
Councilmember Cerna.
Here.
Councilmember Barton. Here. Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Fry.
Here.
Vice President Kingsley.
Here.
Note for the record that President Sokolowski is absent and Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you.
And there are no council president announcements tonight, and we'll start with the presentations for the winner's jersey from the Simon's Heart Conshy Classic Bike Race. Could Mr. Joseph Secoges step to the podium, please?
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Did I
Good to
say
see you
your
all.
name right?
Thank you for having us. I'm Joe Secoges. It's been a while since we've been here. Last year was the first year of our bike race. It was an amazing experience. Working with the borough was amazing. The town loved it. The competitors loved it. Great feedback, so we're super excited to be back and work with you again. We'll keep this real quick. I had some pictures to show. We're not even going to do that. I'm going to introduce Mike Black, who's the race director. He's going to say a couple words. But the big announcement that we have for this year, the 2025 version of the bike race, is we know last year it was to benefit Simon's Heart, great local nonprofit that I've been a part of for a long time. This year we're doubling up and we are introducing Johnny's Place, another Conshohocken-based nonprofit that's a startup. So I'll kick it to Mike Dinda if you just want to say a couple words
Sure.
about Johnny's Place, and then to Mike Black for a couple words, and we'll present the jersey.
Cool.
Sure, I'll be really brief. My name is Michael Dinda. I'm a resident of Conshohocken. I live at 318 East Elm Street. I've resided there for the last 12 years. My day job is the Chief Lending Officer and Executive at First Trust Bank. We were one of the sponsors of the Conshohocken Classic last year, and we'll be one of the main sponsors for the race again this year. I was involved, Joe got me involved. He was a neighbor of mine. I'm an avid amateur cyclist. Not as good as these two guys because I'm a little older and a little bit more banged up than them. But when he told me about what they were doing, I got on board as a sponsor, and I sponsored the Masters race in honor of my son, who passed away, who also was a Conshohocken resident and passed away almost a year ago on March 11th, 2023. My son was special needs. He was 29 years old. He lived over in West Conshohocken at the top of the hill. He lived there for over 6 years. He was severely autistic and had some other conditions that he dealt with, and unfortunately died of pneumonia related to COVID in March of 2023, unexpectedly and tragically. And during his life, he had an amazing life, and he impacted a lot of people in a lot of positive ways. And millions of dollars was raised around him as I worked with him over the years and established a school for him, and did a lot of fundraising and developed did a lot of work around different charities related to his condition. And when he passed, I knew that I wanted to do something in his honor and in his legacy. And when the race, was formed, I had a property next door that I owned as a rental place, and I've made a decision to form a nonprofit around it. I've done the work to establish that, and I'd like to establish it as a residence and as kind of a social place and gathering place for other Johnnies, so to speak, other young men and women that were similar to John, that need a place to come with their staff, to be engaged, kind of a base, so to speak, where they can socialize with each other, be connected to the community, and from there have a base of operation where they can go out in the community and participate in different events. It's always a concept that I had in mind for him when he lived in West Conshohocken. Unfortunately, due to some of his circumstances, I never quite achieved it. But I think from an altruistic standpoint, true charity is doing something, not just for your own flesh and blood, but for in their memory. And I think it can still be established in honor to him and for his legacy. So that's what my charity is going to be about. I've done a lot of fundraising, a lot of social entrepreneurial work over the years, and I think it's going to be a nice tribute to him and have an impact. And the nice thing about it is it's literally right on the race course on Elm Street. And I think it will be a great addition to our eclectic street down there on Elm. And I'm excited to be a part of what these gentlemen have established.
Mike?
Yeah. Hi, Mike Black. I'm a representative of QCW Cycling, a regional cycling club, and we're the promoters of Simon's Heart Conshy Classic. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the borough and all the leadership of the borough that was so incredibly generous with their time and energy. So Stephanie Checo, Ray Sokolowski, Chief David Lennon, and Shauna Weilisol. We have a bigger, better event in concert with your 175th anniversary celebration, May 10th. Big, exciting things coming, and looking forward to a great year two together.
Yep, the word from the cycling community was that this was an amazing event, an incredibly hard course, but they loved the vibe of the town and the people cheering them on. I'll just tell you one more story and then we'll present the jersey. But my favorite memory from the race is we did have the kids race. I got a call about a week later and there were kids, and I don't know, some people might want to close their ears for this, but there were kids riding their bike up in Sutcliffe Park around the basketball courts. And when someone asked them what they were doing, they were bike racing. So they were all here at the race and they took something away from them. So it's all about people, and thank you. This is the jersey that we had framed for you, and of course we had this framed at Culls right down the street, so supporting local business. So you can see the winner's jersey to the Borough of Conshohocken.
I'm good, take that.
We don't show. Okay. All right. Yeah. And so this jersey is identical to the ones that were presented to the race winners.
Hold the other side.
Well, in the olden days, it was Quaker City Wheelman in the 19th century.
You have to get, you gotta get in the back. You gotta get behind us.
Everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. May 10th, mark the calendar.
That's the same age. Yeah. Nice talking to you.
Just came in there. So we just 21st century sort of rebranding.
Are you behind me on time?
Okay. So there's no votes needed tonight, so we'll move on to land use matters, public hearings and ordinance. And the first one is a waiver of land development application for 101 Washington Street, the SEPTA surface lot. I'll turn this over to Ms. Checo, Mr. Peters, to explain what we're doing.
Thank you, Vice President Kingsley. Again, SEPTA is here tonight to present on a waiver of a land development application. It's being processed as a waiver of land development as opposed to a normal land development application because of SEPTA's status as a public agency and because of the limited nature of the improvements being proposed. It's the same process that we followed for the station redevelopment. The Borough Planning Commission has reviewed and recommended approval, and the applicant is present this evening with their professionals. So if you want to kick off and present the project, then we'll take it from there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carl Wiener, representing SEPTA. As Stephanie just said, we have submitted a plan for a surface parking lot to be constructed west of the new regional rail station that has been constructed. The lot will consist of 183 spaces. It will also encompass a multi-use trail, sidewalks, a picnic area, stormwater inlets. We previously obtained zoning relief to allow this parking lot to be in a floodplain because frankly the entire property is in floodplain, but the lot is outside of the floodway, which is the most severely impacted portion of the floodplain. I'll ask our project engineer that we have here this evening, Chris Bellotti of McCoy Taylor, to do an overview of the project with you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right. So Our project team consists of SEPTA's project management team, Rob Tangi, Amanda Robinson, and Len Nardone. McCormick Taylor's design team is myself, Chris Bellotti, Jen Okalanis, and Eric Schmidt. Here's the existing project area. In dark blue is the surface lot. There you see in light blue is the Phase 1 improvements at the site. So the Phase 2 will be adjacent to the Madsen Mill property. It's bordered by the train tracks on the north and the Schuylkill River in the south. So the project scope and the purpose and need is the Phase 1 of the project included relocation of the existing Conshohocken rail station with ADA improvements. The location for the Phase 2 was selected to coincide with the objectives of the PennDOT I-76 congestion management project. We're maximizing parking on the Navy site. Initially, there was the SEPTA parking garage and surface lot that was proposed. SEPTA is still evaluating the options for the parking garage, but in the interim, we are going to construct this surface lot, which consists of 183 parking spaces and a multi-use trail along the riverfront. This is a drawing of the improvements. 183 parking spots, as I mentioned, 6 ADA compliant spaces. The parking spaces will be 8.5 by 18 feet. Two-way traffic with 24-foot lanes. We have an 8 to 10-foot sidewalk between the tracks and the surface lot, and then a multi-use trail along the wrapping around the property that will tie into the Madsen Mill trail. We have ADA accessibility. We see there's ADA curb ramps that would get from the surface lot to the sidewalk, and then a crosswalk there adjacent to the ADA parking spots, which would allow pedestrians to get to the train station. Some other improvements, we have new site lighting on the parking lot that would include not only the surface lot but also the pedestrian walkways. Drainage improvements on the site include 4 inlets and 2 manholes. The site is drained, is sloped to drain all to the Madsen Mill side. We've been in coordination with the Montgomery County Conservation District, and we did the calculations to ensure that we weren't adding to their system that can handle it. We have got the NPDS permit from the Conservation District and DEP. We also are doing a utility connection for 2 fire hydrants. So in order to put in those fire hydrants, we need to have a water line that goes down the Washington Street access road. So we will be repaving that road after we dig the trench to put in the line. We also are going to be doing a Q-cutter traffic signal at Oak Street and rail crossing. We discussed that with the Borough and PennDOT during the parking garage project. And SEPTA has decided to install that as part of the surface lot project as well. And we've been in the coordination with the borough about their signal that improvements they're doing at Elm and Oak. So we're going to make sure that that's coordinated and the contractors are in line with how that's going to phase. And as far as timeline goes, I mentioned we got our environmental permit, the NPDS permit, and the JPA permit. And once we resubmit our land development plans, and we will be looking to go to construction in this summer of 2025.
We have review letters on this project from Remington Burnick dated November 20th, 2024, and from Pannoni dated December 4th, 2024. Almost all of those items will comply from our perspective. We will prepare to clean up the plans. Really only 2 items worthy of any comment. One of which is a comment about showing concrete washouts on the plan. And our response to that is that typically concrete washouts are something that we figure out in the field. Once it is constructed, we figure out the best place to put them. So we need the flexibility to not put them in a specific place on the plan. Secondly, the issue regarding the landscaping, particularly shade trees. There are two requirements that don't necessarily work completely in sync. One is that we are required to have landscape islands that are at least 36 square feet in the parking area. We have provided those as required. We're also, and we have provided one shade tree for each of those parking islands, plus shrubbery on those parking islands. We can't fit two shade trees on a single parking island. And so we comply with the dimensions of the parking island, we comply with the number of parking islands. There's a separate requirement that for one shade tree per every 10 spaces, which, doing the math, would result in 19 shade trees. So while we can't put them on the islands themselves, we have provided shade trees around the perimeter so that they do in fact shade parking spaces along the perimeter as well, not just around the islands. But that's how we have complied with that requirement, and we believe we meet both aspects of that. And with that, we've also asked for a few waivers, and one of which is to permit parking stalls of 8.5 feet by 18 rather than 9 by 18, and we believe that under the SP3 zoning, this dimension is permitted, and I believe that was verified at the Planning Commission when we discussed that. We are asking to provide or not to provide a 15-foot wide sidewalk. I think, as Chris just mentioned a few moments ago, we have a variable width extending up to 10 feet. Sidewalk, we just don't have the room between the parking lot and the tracks to put in a 15-foot wide sidewalk. And third is not to provide land for park or recreation facilities or fee in lieu. Again, we are providing amenities as required in terms of picnic benches and walking trail and such. We believe that meets the spirit. Under state statute, SEPTA as a government agency can't pay fee in lieu to municipal agencies, so we believe we've met those criteria as best that we can. That's it. Anything else? Okay.
So the fee in lieu that you're requesting is strictly just for what you're building now, the parking lot. If and when you do something else, that'll be a separate issue.
That's a different ballgame. Right.
And that the 8.5 sidewalk, I was at the meeting, it's 27-2011, if anybody wants to look it up. Does anybody have any questions I'd like to ask?
Yeah. Can I ask a question of you regarding the parking? I'm sorry, I forgot to turn myself on. Regarding the spacing in the aisles themselves, is there enough room for two cars to get past each other? There was a marked 24 feet. It didn't seem like a whole lot of space.
24 feet actually does comply with the borough's saldo for two-way drive aisles and 90-degree parking.
Okay. All right. So my thing is when people get off the train, it's going to be mass bedlam in that parking lot. So would you consider making it one way so that you come in and then come through the aisles and then go back out so that the traffic will flow better?
I'll let the engineer speak to that because
Okay.
I'm just a lawyer.
Yeah, right, so there is 24 feet both
Right.
ways so that they can, that's the circulation that, for the parking lot there, so that they can move both directions. That's the way the parking lot's designed.
Okay. And regarding your trees, Stephanie, are they using trees that we recommend?
You'll have to comply with the borough's ordinance in terms of trees, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was comments in the land development about certain kind of trees that we will be addressing.
Okay. And then your lighting, is it a box lighting or is it?
It's the Cobra head lighting
Okay.
for the,
Okay.
for the
Okay.
parking lot.
I'm good.
Again,
So-
they'll have to comply with the borough's.
Yes, yeah.
And you touched on this before when you said that the walking trail, well, that will be continuous with the trail that comes behind Matson Mill now, and it's open to the public?
Correct.
Correct, okay. Yeah, sure.
So you said construction is going to start summer of '25, so this summer?
That's what we're looking for. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't.
that's the plan.
That's
Yes.
the plan. What's the duration to complete
Uh,
this project?
We anticipate 1 year, I think is our estimate.
Okay. So we do have apartment buildings down there. What's your plan for usage of the in and out and disruption to the local apartment buildings? So, right, I imagine everything has to come in
Correct.
direction.
Correct. We'll have issues we'll have statements in the contract that will maintain that access at all times.
Okay.
They can't block that access without,
Right, so that's one side, right, but also cleanliness, dust, things like that, right? So I would recommend to be good neighbors and reach out to management of the apartment buildings and talk to them, so. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you for coming in. We don't have any vote tonight on anything. Is there any more on this? You want it?
Tonight, it will be back on your agenda on the 19th.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is to discuss an amendment to the parking ordinance. Again, I'll turn this over to Ms. Checo and Mr. Peters.
Yes, this evening we are presenting an amended parking ordinance for consideration by Borough Council. There are three revisions included in the amendment. There is the stop intersection with an official stop sign at West First Avenue and Maple Street, and a handicap parking space in the area of 10 East 6th Avenue. These were both temporary resolutions that were passed in order to us to evaluate any effect on the surrounding area. There have been none, and therefore we are proposing that they become permanent in the ordinance. And there also is a no parking sign on Robinson Alley between First Avenue and West Hector Street. That was put there as part of the Sora West development. However, that signage was never officially adopted in the ordinance, and so we're going to be putting in an additional signage, and we would like to add it to the ordinance since it already exists as a regulation in the borough. So those are the proposed amendments to the parking ordinance. There is no vote this evening. If there's any discussion over the next 2 weeks, Borough Council and the mayor, more than welcome to send them my way or to Mike. And then it will be authorized for advertisement on the 19th so that the public has an opportunity to evaluate the proposed changes prior to it being formally adopted.
Any questions, anybody?
Have we received any feedback so far?
No.
No, I mean, we focus on the negative, right? No complaints from neighbors?
No
or
complaints.
Okay. I can speak for the area of Ward 1. People are happy with it.
Great.
That's the feedback I've gotten. So,
I appreciate that feedback.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is council business. Gentleman who's scheduled to come in to do an interview for the Friends of Conshohocken Parks is rescheduled for next week. So we will conduct an interview, excuse me, on the Human Relations Commission. Could Allison Raymond come up, please? Hi, Allison. Thank you. Good. Thank you for coming in. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Raymond. I am a program director at Tech Elevator. We are an online education company, and we specialize in software development programs. I lead a team of career service individuals, and we support our alumni as they find jobs in their career search in tech when they graduate. Prior to Tech Elevator, I was a talent acquisition manager for Enterprise Mobility for 16 years. And there, I led recruiting initiatives and strategies for the Philadelphia region. Also was involved in talent development for our employees and their life cycle with the company. I also have taught as an adjunct at Temple University, a professional development class for 6 years during my time at Enterprise. I graduated from Penn State University with a marketing degree. I also have my PHR certification, and right now I'm studying for my SHRM CP certification. And I'm in Conshohocken. I live on East 11th. I've been here for about 10 years. And in my spare time, I like to read and run. It's a little bit about me.
So why the HR commission? What drew you to that?
Yes. I find myself in a unique position. I really want to give back to my community. And I love the work that I do because I get to help people, and I'm so passionate about that. Whether it's calling someone and offering them a job, or my students, when they call me and tell me they got a job, it is literally life-changing for people. And to use my skills in human resources and employment law, I was preparing for this interview and doing some research on the Pennsylvania anti-discrimination laws and the things that are governing. And so it reminds me a lot of what I did in employment law and how I had to handle certain situations. And so to be able to use these experiences to give back to Conshohocken, it would mean a lot to me. I love this town, so that would be really cool.
The position is vacant, so you're filling in, and the term expires at the end of this year. So if you took it and wanted to, you'd have to re-up again for
Okay.
next year.
Yeah.
The Human Relations is an extremely important commission because when we need somebody, we need somebody. Fortunately, we have very few problems, and it's just on an as-needed basis. And I don't remember the last time they actually met, but we do need people available when problems arise. I've looked over your resume. It's very impressive. What types of problems have you handled specifically in your job?
Yeah, I can think of a few examples. I think probably the ADA is one that comes to mind because the Americans with Disabilities Act, oftentimes in a job coaching setting, I'm coaching people when to disclose a disability in the employment process. Oftentimes pregnancy, that's covered under the ADA, so that's often a conversation that I have with job candidates and with people that I've interviewed in the past. Definitely been involved in local laws that impact candidates. For example, ban the box in Philadelphia. You can't ask if you've ever been convicted of a felony on a job application. You have to wait until you're making an offer for employment. So coaching my students to wait until they receive an offer for employment to disclose is something that I've done, but also from a interviewing and hiring perspective, it's definitely opened the doors to people that have had criminal convictions, which is important because you're giving people an opportunity to interview before bias comes into the picture, and you're giving them an offer for employment. So now you can evaluate them for their skills and then decide what was the offense and how severe was it, and that line of questioning can come into play. As a federal contractor with Enterprise, we had really strict applicant flow log record-keeping obligations, and so we did statistical analysis every 6 months at the company to make sure that our hiring managers were not having disparate impact on the candidates that were coming through. Had multiple conversations with hiring managers based on some things that we saw in the interview process, and whether that was not wanting to hire females or things along those lines. We had to coach them how to interview people and how to make the right decisions without bias. Those are just a few examples. I'm happy to share more if need be.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
No, please.
Currently, federal anti-discrimination laws are, suffice it to say, in turmoil. So I just want to directly ask you, are you willing to enforce the anti-discrimination laws of Pennsylvania that we have established?
Yes, absolutely. And also just I'm not a lawyer, so I would also, investigate and figure out and recommend a course of action, but also if there's anything that we need a council to make a decision on, that would be something that I would encourage as well. But yes, upholding whatever the laws that we're governed by.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Thank you for volunteering, by the way. It's good to have good. I know you and your husband see walking the dog, but it's really nice to have good people step up. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Alden.
Is that it? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in. And there won't be a vote tonight. We'll decide next.
Thank
the
you.
next
It was
meeting.
nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing is manager matters. Discuss an RFP for the purchase of public space trash receptacles. Ms. Checo?
Yes, we have in the capital budget an approved line item for trash receptacles down on Fayette Street. The scope of the actual project is 25 bins. They have to be fully enclosed receptacles with foot pedals, with monitoring sensors. They must include an option with solar-powered internal compactors, include a minimum of a 5-year warranty, allow for custom wraps for sharing of borough imagery or business advertisements, and they must provide an option that can hold up to or exceed 5 times the capacity of a traditional bin. We are seeking council's approval to advertise the RFP, which we will request on the 19th. We will compile any submissions to the RFP, present those results to Borough Council, and then proceed with the procurement in order to meet that initiative that Council approved for Fayette Street in 2025.
Any questions? Anybody?
So these are the ones that are actually enclosed. So there's no more open
Correct.
tops where it's stacked and we
Yes,
don't
they
get
have to be enclosed, and they have to have internal compacting software,
Okay, and
so that you
then
can fit larger amounts of trash in the receptacles.
you mentioned they actually monitor. There's some kind of monitor in there that basically says it's full or not. Will that reduce the burden on us having to go around constantly and doing it? Will that change?
Yes, we are upgrading our technology and our operations for trash and recycling.
Okay.
Have the locations for these big belly trash cans been selected?
Shauna is shaking her head, yes, they have been selected.
Eh.
These black, like metal open top bins that you see along Fayette will be replaced. I think I'm loud enough.
It's for the public, please.
Yeah.
These are for public trash cans.
No, I'm sorry,
No.
the
Microphone.
mic?
For the video.
Yeah.
Hello. The public space trash bins that you see now on Fayette Street, the black metal with the open top, I noticed during every single event they fill up quite quickly. They're only a 30-gallon capacity. So the smallest size of these bins is 50, and the bulk of them, especially in all of the busiest areas, will have the compacting option, which makes them 150-gallon capacity. But they will replace those. So wherever you see those, you will then see one of these.
They're 25 now. Is that how many there are right now?
I don't think we've included every single one in every park space, but that would be an ongoing cost. There are 25 now that are right along Fayette, and I believe throughout Marywood we began with.
Okay, so these would include the Marywood Park?
They are meant to, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And our Borough Public Works will pick up the trash from them. Perfect.
I see that there's a date to authorize award of the bid in April. Are we including in this RFP when we would like delivery of the actual trash cans?
Well, if we had it our way, delivery would happen now, but due to procurement policies, we have to go through this process. Therefore, we can have things lined up as quickly as we
Well,
can.
I
but
guess, well, let me rephrase what I'm
we can't
asking you.
require someone to have them delivered on a certain date.
So we don't have anything in this RFP that says, once awarded, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. So we're not considering anything when they submit their bids on delivery dates.
Based off of, do you want to answer that?
They're not custom made.
Yeah.
They're basically in stock. They're the only distributor that we know of in the world that makes these trash cans. So because of the procurement process in the state of Pennsylvania, we have to go through the RFP.
Okay.
In some cases, they would be considered a single source
So we don't expect to get 3, 4, 5 bids on this, I think is what you're saying.
We could, but we don't expect it.
Okay. The crux of what I'm saying is, I would hate to go lowest price, and turns out that it takes 6 more months to get these.
So we don't. All of our RFPs indicate that while price is a factor, it's the quality of the product that we also factor into all of our decision-making. Therefore, in this particular one, it's not just lower price, it
So
has to
delivery
be.
date is part of the quality of the product, is what
We can consider that, yes.
Okay.
It's the same ones if you go to Manhattan,
Yeah.
if you go to Philadelphia, if you go to Norristown.
Norristown.
I think has them, and almost every state college.
Can I ask, if we're doing the 25 on Fayette, is there a reason why we're not just doing the parks as well with them? I'm assuming if we're buying a number of them.
There's a potential, these also have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
The ability to have public. That was, there are some of those cans in New York City that have that, but they haven't worked out the kinks in that process. If we were to get those, we would probably get those, the ones that do provide Wi-Fi, put them in our parks, so we would be able to extend the public Wi-Fi.
So we have been looking at that specifically as an option, again, to have Wi-Fi in the parks. And if the technology isn't there yet, which it's not, then we're holding off on implementing those trash cans in those locations.
Will that long-term cost us more money by separating those cans out from these? Or could we buy them all and get a lower cost for all of them? Or is it just basically like a flat fee per can almost?
Single source provider.
So it doesn't make
not
it doesn't
gonna
make a
change.
difference. It's 6 to 12 half
If there was a
dozen.
competition, there would be a different story, but right now there isn't.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, the next item is discuss an RFP for the replacement of windows at the A field. Ms. Checo,
This is another one of your approved 2025 capital projects for the Recreation Department. They began an assessment of the A-Field building. We had the roof replacement project completed last year. The next item in that project list are the windows. They are all, if not most, deteriorated. And because the cost of the project exceeds the state procurement thresholds, we do have to put an RFP for that work. We are discussing it this evening, looking for advertisement authorization on the 19th, and then looking to award a bid in the April timeframe. And the job entails the replacement of 32 windows total.
does anybody have any questions?
Are the frames are like everything around it, the headers, everything's good? We don't have to replace anything? They putting these windows in and then have to come down the line and fix anything else around it?
If there is damage or deterioration around the windows as well, we're not going to put a window into
Okay.
rotted
I just wanted to make sure.
infrastructure.
Okay.
Yes.
And, okay. There's no vote on this tonight. We will vote in 2 weeks. I should have mentioned that on the other RFP, but I forgot. So the next thing is consider accepting resignation of a zoning hearing board member. So I ask for a motion to accept Mark Danick's resignation from the zoning hearing board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passed. I would personally like to thank Mr. Danick for his years of service on the zoning hearing board and wish him the best of luck in his new endeavors. The next item to consider is approving Resolution 2502, appointing a member to the zoning hearing board. The motion to approve Resolution 2025 appointing Dennis Fay to the current permanent vacancy on the zoning hearing board. Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Fay?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passed. Again, I'd like to thank Dennis Fay for stepping up and going from the alternate to permanent resident. And that means that there will be a vacancy for an alternate to the zoning hearing board. And that vacancy will be posted tomorrow, Ms. Checo?
Correct.
That's correct. And public is invited to apply for that vacancy as soon as possible, because it's really important to have that filled. Okay, the next thing is consider approving payment certificate number 6 for the Sutcliffe Trail Park reconstruction project in the amount of $119,904.16. Do I have a motion to approve payment certificate number 6 for the Sutcliffe Park Trail reconstruction project in the amount of $119,904.16 contingent upon the borough's receipt of the completed certified payrolls?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. The next thing on the agenda is consider approving 720 Spring Mill Avenue Financial Security Escrow Release Number 5 in the amount of $126,449.75. Do I have a motion to approve 720 Spring Mill Avenue Financial Security Escrow Release Number 5 in the amount of $126,449.75?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is consider approving 400 West Elm Street Financial Security Escrow Release Number 5 Final in the amount of $76,274.18. Do I have a motion to approve 400 West Elm Street Financial Security Escrow Release Number 5 Final in the amount of $76,274.18?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next is to consider approving 51 Washington Street Professional Services Escrow Release Number 1 Final in the amount of $90,071.63 plus interest. Do I have a motion to approve 51 Washington Street Professional Services Escrow Release Number 1 Final in the amount of $90,071.63 plus interest?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next one is consider approving a tuition reimbursement for Officer Smith for the 2025 spring semester. So I need a motion to approve a tuition reimbursement for Officer Smith for the 2025 spring semester in the amount of $4,037.78.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next one is to consider ratifying medical disability retirement for Officer Glasgow. So I'll need a motion to ratify the medical disability retirement for Officer Joseph Glasgow as of January 31st, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next thing is department matters. We have nothing under that, nothing under legal. So I guess we go on to council member and the mayor. Mayor Aronson, what do you have for us tonight?
All right. Believe it or not, as rare as it is, as we learned a few weeks ago, we had another Conshohocken Scout become Eagle Scout a couple weeks ago. This one's particularly interesting. Alex, his project was to help the Masonic Lodge. He made frames to hold pictures of their members, and he made benches for the park, and he made a lending library from the park. As we were setting up for Arts Festival last year, he took me through, and one of the things I said at his ceremony was it wasn't like a chore. Like, he was so excited to do it and to better our community. So really very special. So thank you to Alex and congratulations. That's amazing. Thomas finally is old enough to go to Soccer Shots mini at the community center. So we did our first like real event. And he had a blast with all the other little ones. So thank you to Lauren and her team, as always, for putting on these really cool classes. We had the annual kindness challenge from Conshohocken Elementary School. Every year they invite the community in to essentially have a pep rally for all the students. So we always enjoy doing that and supporting all our youngest residents, giving them a great start to the week and to their day. And then finally, it's Black History Month. I posted yesterday or the day before a bunch of resources, events that are happening in Conshohocken, events that are happening around the county, a list of Black-owned businesses, and even some historical landmarks to visit during the month. So please check that out, and we look forward to celebrating this all month. That's it for me.
Ralph, you have anything for us tonight?
Great job for Public Works and Administration to set up the Eagles Pep Rally today outside of the boathouse. Really cool event. I was able to stop by. It was, as always, great job, everyone involved. Go Birds.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Anita? Mr. Cerna?
Nothing.
Mr. Chmielewski?
Nothing for me, thank you.
I do have a couple of things. A little follow-up. Mayor Aronson already touched on Black History Month. The Conshohocken Free Library is doing some events. It is on their Facebook page, and the first one is on Saturday, February 15th. So if you want to check that out, they have some stuff. And I have a little statement on Black History Month in conjunction with the fact that it is the 175th anniversary of Conshohocken. So a little bit on Black history, that it was first created in 1926 in the United States by historian Carter C. Woodson. He announced that the second week of February, it was actually Negro History Week, and this week was chosen because it coincided with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and that of Frederick Douglass on February 14th. And then over the years, the celebration continued to grow, and it became Black History Month. And it was formalized in the United States in 1976 when President Gerald Ford recognized Black History Month during the celebration of the United States bicentennial. And it was also in the bicentennial year that the Borough of Conshohocken erected a historical plaque on Fayette Street to honor Ned Hector and other African Americans that served during the American Revolution. And since this year, the Borough of Conshohocken is celebrating its 175th anniversary. The borough was incorporated from parts of both Plymouth and White Marsh Township in 1850. And shortly thereafter, the residents of the newly formed borough petitioned the Borough Council to develop and grade a road passable to wagons and to name it Hector Street to honor Ned Hector, who passed away in 1834 at the age of 90. That's just a little bit of how Conshohocken ties in with Black History Week, Black History Month, and I think in this anniversary year we'll be celebrating other prominent Conshohocken people. And I don't have anything else. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.